Welcome to ShareControl, your workplace in the cloud. In this video, we will go through the next version of ShareControl IFRS 16, where the focus is on subsequent measurement of the lease liability and right-of-use asset. We upgrade your subscription when you're ready. If you're still missing contracts, or there's still uncertainty about the assessment of contracts, we recommend that you wait with the upgrade until you're ready. It is also important that the borrowing rate on the date of implementation is concluded. For many companies, it will first be necessary to start with a log of changes when index adjustments need to be measured at the end of 2019 or the beginning of 2020. Please contact us when you're ready. This upgrade is part of your subscription, but we need to access Office 365 to make the upgrade. If you have chosen a retrospective implementation method in which the right-of-use asset is depreciated from the commencement date, please see our video that covers this. If you have another date for implementation, for example, January 1st, 2018, the procedure will be the same. You have then received a calculation model that has an earlier start time. After upgrading ShareControl's add-in, 2 new choices will appear for each contract. Adjust CPI is used for the adjustment of the minimum lease payments for contracts based on an index or rate at the date the change in cash flow take place. Log other changes is to register other changes like an exercise of an option to extend the lease period, lease modifications, discount rate. There may be different access for the 2 choices. For example, access can be restricted for complex changes in a lease to a few people, while Adjust CPI can be accessed by all users. Index regulation notification appears on the front page, and you can go directly from there to the contract to be adjusted. Press the Index Regulations and the menu. Enter new minimum lease payment based on the adjusted lease payment invoice from the lessor, and modify the date for the next index adjustment if the suggested date is not correct. Press Save when you're finished. When the calculation is updated, this appears as follows. New contract. Enter the new contract from the time you are entitled to the underlying asset. Use either the New Folder button or copy an existing contract and enter the changes using the cogwheel. Remember to change the file name. Contract termination. If a contract is terminated, use the termination function and enter the termination date. This only applies to contracts that terminate before end of the minimum lease period. Upon termination, the gain or loss is calculated at the time of termination as the difference the remaining value of lease liability and the right-of-use assets plus a termination fee. The other changes that require a recalculation of the lease liability and corresponding change in right-of-use assets are described in a separate video, which is available on our website. Calculation file. You will find the calculation file under the library Calculation. We recommend that you store the calculation file used during a reporting period, for example, a quarter. You can do this by using the copy function and lock the folder. In order to prevent you from updating numbers in an archived calculation file, you can cut the link to SharePoint. But don't delete the sheet of data from SharePoint, as this may cause you to lose the entire calculation. It is described in the user manual how this is done. The calculation file. The calculation file contains the following tabs: a tab for each lease, Here you will find all the details of payments, interest, installments, and depreciation. This is where you can check that the lease agreements are properly registered. A menu tab where all analysis and sorting takes place. Notes 2019, which is an example of note information for the financial statements 2019 based on IFRS 16. Notes 2018, which is an example of note information for 2018 based on IAS 17, as well as an example of the reconciliation file between IAS 17 and IFRS 16, which is a requirement to have in the financial statements for 2019. Input sheets from SharePoint is where you find the metadata from SharePoint. All data is stored in SharePoint and all changes must be registered there. You can therefore send the calculation sheets as a file attachment to, for example, the auditor. And the auditor can also download a clean calculation file and make their audits. Warnings give information about data in an agreement that is wholly or partially rejected because the data is inconsistent. It is recommended that such warnings be carefully reviewed and contract data updated. An example is that if the periods are not